Thomas Mengesha.
Greetings and salutations. I'm Captain Tom Mengesha, United States Army retired and the former adjutant for Base Support Battalion North out of Camp Beer in Kuwait. Folks, I have been receiving tons of emails, questions, and messages regarding military life and what's it like to serve. So what I would like to do in this video is kind of go through some of my recent emails and answer some questions, and hopefully you all can have a better understanding of what it's like to serve in the military, what the military way of life is all about. Now, before I begin, what I probably should do is kind of tell you all a little bit about myself. Well, for those of you all who don't know, which is probably 99.99999% of the world, who I am and the things I've done, I have spent over 25 years in the military, retired as a captain in 2009. I served both as an enlisted service member and as an officer. I am known as a Mustang. That is a term for those service members who have served both enlisted and an officer. I started out as a private E1, up to sergeant E5, went to the E6 board, and prior to becoming a staff sergeant, I was released on the Army Green to Gold to attend the University of South Carolina on an ROTC scholarship. So shout out to the Fighting Gamecocks out of Columbia, South Carolina. And after being commissioned in 1991, I think it was, yes, went on, finished out my career as an Army officer, spent 2 combat tours in the Iraq war zone, and then retired in 2009, went on, did a whole bunch of other things. So I know a little bit about which I speak. So let's go ahead and dive right. Oh, and by the way, before I begin, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe. I'm sure you will not be disappointed, and feel free to share all of my videos around the world. And hopefully anyone who is interested to learn more about the military can reach out to me. Oh, and by the way, I also wrote a book, The Service Member's Guide to Deployment, What Every Soldier, Sailor, Airman, Marine Should Know Prior to Being Deployed. And you can get that link on my channel. And yeah, anyway, so let's go ahead and dive right on into some of these questions. All right. Oh, okay. Well, one of them says, I'll leave all that part out. Okay. Basically, they want to know is, how do you become an officer? Well, that is a great question. There are many ways to become an officer in the military. As I indicated, I received my commission under the Army Green to Gold program. And that is a scholarship program specifically set aside for active duty enlisted service members in the Army. And as long as you have, certainly when I applied for it, you need, I believe, a 115 GT score. You'd be accepted to a college, and they release you from your contract to attend college full time. They also paid you a stipend each month. And it's a great opportunity. There's ROTC. There's another, ROTC, direct ROTC without the scholarship. There's also the services like Annapolis, West Point. These are specific universities of higher degrees where someone can become a commissioned officer. And there's also a direct commission. So those are just some of the ways someone could become an officer. Now, another question asks, to explain the difference between the reserve forces and the National Guard. Well, that also is a good question. The primary difference between the Army Reserve and the National Guard is its funding and who's kind of like in charge in the chain of command. The National Guard is the commander, if you will, is the governor of each state. And the Army Reserves, or the reserves, if you will, is more of a national pool of service members that the president calls upon during emergencies and situations. So it's kind of like where the funding. So National Guard generally is the state, and the reserve, they're national. And I was national. I was an Army Reserve. I was not part of any National Guard. A lot of people were confused about that. They had asked me about that as well. Now, how long is your average term of service is another question that I often get. Well, there are various tours that you could sign up for, and I would encourage you to talk to a recruiter, but generally it's 2, 4, and 6 years, and then you can always re-up or re-enlist or sign a new contract. And, there's pros and cons of thinking how you do it. You can look at it this way: when there's time, if you know that you're going to spend 20 years in the military, there's a couple of ways that you could consider doing it. You could do 2-year pops at a time, and then hopefully they offer enlistment bonuses when they come around. But you got to be careful about that too, because what could happen is that if there's a drawdown and they start, deciding that, we have too many people in the military, and you could lose out because they were not going to re-extend your contract or allow you to extend another contract because, they're going through a drawdown phase. So that is a personal decision, but kind of weigh, the pros and cons about that. So just know that, if you sign a contract every 2 years, in theory, there could be enlistment bonuses, but the downside of that is if they could say, well, no, we got too many people in, we're not, letting any more people sign up. But if you have a 4-year contract, you're just trugging along. So kind of keep that in mind. All right, another question that I received is, are there shorter enlistment commitments available? Well, yes, as I kind of indicated, there are 2-year contracts, 4 and 6, but talk to a recruiter, because things may have changed since I retired in 2009, and I don't want to give out things change particularly now, and with what's going on in where is it going on? Oh my gosh. And what's going on? Ukraine. Oh my gosh. In Ukraine, with Russia invading Ukraine. You want to keep that in mind. So there may be different terms or contracts available. Let's see. What is military rank? Oh, well, this is something that I should be able to answer. Well, anyway, I'll speak from the Army point of view. I mean, they're all the same, but they call them different things. I have a brother who retired from the Air Force, and anyway. So with the Army, you start off on the enlisted side as a private E1. Then there's something called a private E2. Then there's a PFC, or private first class, which is an E3. E stands for enlisted. Then you have what is known as a specialist. It used to have corporals, and that's an E4. And E5 is a sergeant. And again, E is for enlistment. E6 is a staff sergeant that has one rocker, if you know what the sergeant emblem looks like, insignia looks like. Then there's a sergeant first class, master sergeant, and then sergeant major or command sergeant major or command. That's the high. E9 is the highest enlisted rank that you can go. And then there's the officer branch, or the officer ranking system. It starts off as a second lieutenant, or commonly called a butter bar, because they're gold, the gold bar. Then there's the first lieutenant, which is silver, and then there's a captain. Then after captain, or O3, and by the way, if you spend enlisted time, now we're getting down to the weeds, you're designated in O1E, O2E, O3E, which meaning you had enlisted time, and generally it's 4 years of enlisted time you have to get that designation. Might be 6 now. Then, of course, there's a major, or O4, and you lose that once you're past O3, so there's not an O4E. Then there is the lieutenant colonel. Then there is an O6, which is full bird colonel. The silver leaf, oak leaf, is a lieutenant colonel, then a full bird colonel. Then you have what is known as general, brigadier general, which is a 1-star. And then you have a major general is a 2-star. Then you have a 3-star, which is a lieutenant general, and 4-star is general. and there's 5 stars, and that's very rare. You generally only have that in wartime. And the way that or the way I remembered it, is the acronym Be My Little General. So B, Brigadier General, 1 star, my 2-star general, little 3-star general, and 4 general. So Be My Little General is the way that you kind of remember Brigadier, Major, Lieutenant General, and then General. So that is the ranking system within the Army. All right, so be all you can be in the U.S. Army. Let's see. Another question that a viewer had. Let me pull that up. I just dropped my messages. Where do they go? I have a million screens that just popped up. I don't know if you guys have ever had that happen, where you're tooting along and then, okay, here we go. Can people join the U.S. military if they are not a U.S. citizen? I did a whole, and I should call your name. I did a whole video about that on my channel. Go ahead and check that out. But, let me just give you the Reader's Digest condensed version. The answer is yes. Spoiler alert, yes. So, but anyway, I did a whole video about that on my channel. So go ahead and check it out, and you'll learn about how a foreign national can become a U.S. citizen. That's a quick way of doing it too, by the way. Does having a criminal record disqualify a potential recruit from military service? Well, I mean, it depends on what it is, but with that, I would actually just tell you to talk to a recruiter. But no, in some cases, there's so many the ifs, that's, maybe, could be. Certainly, I would speak with a recruiter and let them know what your actual situation is, and they will be able to answer that question. All right. Well, those are just some of the many questions that I have been receiving from folks from actually around the world. I got folks in Russia sending me questions. I wonder, Vlad, are you doing something? Anyway, but anyway, I get questions from all over the world about military service. But anyway, if you have any other questions, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Or if you have any experience serving in the military, let us know what it's like, and where your favorite places to be stationed around the world have been. My favorite place of all the places I've been, I would have to say, hands down, Panama. The country of Panama. Absolutely love the people of Panama. That was my favorite duty assignment. And again, I have been stationed in Panama, Honduras, Alabama, Georgia, Kuwait, Qatar, Korea, a bunch of other places, and then also visited many others. But anyway, if you'd like to email me, go ahead and email me at asktheadjutant@gmail.com. So with that, I wish you all blessings and blessings. Shalom.
Call on, call on, call on. Thomas Mengesha.